All right, so we're going to take another variation on paneling tools. So with this example, we have one object that's then being panelized. But what we're going to do is take that one object and we're going to make a family of objects. So all based around the exact same or similar design. You have this one object that it's starting to close up. Um, And that's just as simple as turning on the control points and just moving them around. And also at the same time, the heights for these are slightly different. They're changing with every iteration. So they all have their similarities, but they're all based off of the same design type. So essentially, just all part of the same family. And we're going to use that. We're going to use this new set to then panelize across this field. So instead of using Point Morph 3D, we're going to use a different one for paneling tools. We want to use Morph 3D List. Similar inputs. The only difference going to give us different results. So I'm going to delete the Point Morph 3D. And I only want the Point Morph 3D list. And I'm still going to plug in everything very similar. I have my grid of points that goes into 2. The other grid of points goes into 1. I have the weight list. I'm going to plug those in. And I'm going to plug in my pattern geometry. And right now it should look the same. I think this geometry is still associated with this single object. But I want this new geometry to be associated with these new objects. So I'm going to right click, go to set multiple geometries, and I want to select these in a very specific way, either going from the largest opening to the smallest or from the smallest opening to the largest. You can't just randomly select them. So I'm going to start here and just work my way down the line and then hit enter. And as soon as I do, I'm not getting the exact results that I want. Even though it looks interesting, it's not exactly what I want. One thing I'm going to have to change is I'm going to right click over here on PO. I'm going to right click and go to graft. Now what should be happening, I'm going to set this the magnitude for my curve attractors. I'm going to set that magnitude to 0 just so you can start to see what's happening. And my original UV points, I'm going to put this at 10. And I'm going to adjust this one. I'll increase it to maybe 15, 16. There you go. There's a few more. So essentially what's happening is you can see the curve in the background. And what it's doing is the panels that are closest to that curve, it's using this shape. And the further away it gets from that curve, the further away that attraction is. It starts to go down the line from this one to this one to this one to this last final piece. So you can see right here where there's this curve, it's using this panel. But then as it gets further down, further away, this panel is now this panel. And somewhere in between, it starts to lose its the attraction, and it's starting to morph its way using the 3 in between. So I have, essentially in this case, I have 5 families, this being the first one, the most extreme, and this being the most extreme. and it morphs with the other three. So you can start to see that it starts to create this really interesting pattern. Again, I can always select my curve, turn on the control points, adjust it, adjust the control points, and then I can start to see how that's being affected. If I want to see it in reverse order so that this has the strongest attraction and this has the weakest, I could always go back here to my pattern object. I'll leave graph turned on, but then I'll just reverse the order. And then now there's the reversed order. So now wherever the curve is, it's using this one, and where it's furthest away, it's using this one. I could always just switch it back. And if I wanted to, instead of keeping this a grid, I can also adjust the magnitude. So now the curve is actually pulling these points, and it's using multiple objects. So I can start to play with those variations. And it also works with point attractors. So if you want to see what that looks like, you can just substitute it with the point attraction, and you can just substitute that back in and switch that out, and just add a couple points in here, and you can look at the results that you're going to get.